Hello everyone, welcome to the Winning Agenda's 2021, Magic 2021 unboxing video. My name is Jess Horig. I'm here with Jesse Marshall. How are you doing?
I'm going well. How are you, Jess?
I'm doing great, thank you. So we are going to unbox a pre-release pack today. This is sort of a companion video to Jesse's unboxing, which he did earlier. And in this we're going to open 6 packs and we're just going to discuss how they might go from the purposes of sealed and draft mostly, and we're also just going to talk a little bit about what we've been up to in terms of the Winning Agenda and the stream in general. So thank you if you're watching on YouTube. Let me just try and work out this
Oh, you got your pre-release card on top there.
on the top, yeah. So we're starting off with the Fabled Passage. So this is a really, I'll just let you handle the...
Yeah, there you go. Bring it closer. I reckon you got the focus up close there. There you go.
Yeah, so this one is a powerful rare, a bit innocuous looking, but strong in multiple decks. So it lets you search for a basic land card, and then if you have 4 or more lands, including that one, it comes into play untapped. Really pretty art as well. So really nice card to open, and it lets you, as we sort of mentioned before, being able to play 3 colors and splash your more powerful cards can be really strong in sealed, but in this set with not as much mana fixing in green and color fixing, it can be a bit harder. Having a card like this is really powerful, since no matter which of the 5 colors we're going to play, this will enable us to splash whichever color we want. So this is really powerful from that perspective, and really happy to have started with it. I'll give it to Jesse to just get it out of the packaging while I continue with the rest of the packs. So we're starting with the Liliana pack today. Liliana is one of the faces of Core Set 2021. And we'll see how our first pack goes. So Jesse, did you want to just talk a bit about your pack, your pre-release
My pull,
pack?
yeah.
Oh,
So for those of you, oh no.
Oh no, okay.
All right. So for those of you who watched the video that I just did, ended up with a sweet blue-black deck with 2 Massacre Worms. So let's hope that you can follow that up here, Jess.
Yeah, so we start with a Saproling. Apologies for my somewhat fiddly card handling, but hopefully you can see everything. So we start with a Saproling. We start with a Saproling, which is a token from 2021, usually made by green creatures. We move on to the Swamp, and now is the rare. So the rare is a Temple of Epiphany, which is a mana fixing lands that gives you a scry and adds blue or red. So along with a Fabled Passage, it gives us a good base for playing 3 or more colors. So that's strong so far, although, you know, maybe not the most exciting 2 cards to open so far, 2 lands, but, you know, lands are always important since, you know, they allow you to play multiple colors and they make your deck much more consistent in a way that spells can't as much. So good place to start. So then we have a Falconer Adept. So this is a 2/3, and when it attacks it makes a 1/1 bird creature. So this one is powerful in a lot of decks. In terms of white creatures, there are a lot of white creatures that boost the power and toughness of other creatures. So this is strong in multiple aspects with those. So you can boost this as well as this, giving you multiple creatures to boost onto with a Basri's Acolyte or a similar card. So the only main downside is if your opponent has a larger creature and you can't really attack that well with your Falconer Adept. It's just a 4 mana 2/3, but a well-built base white deck can include a lot of creature pump as well as some removal to hopefully get around that situation, in which case the Falconer Adept can take over the game. So next we have an Epitaph Golem. So this is a 5 mana 3/5 and lets you recur cards, so it's good to prevent against milling, and it's an artifact, so it can go in basically any deck, and you know, it has a decent body, but not something that you'd really be too excited to have in the main deck. But you know, if you're expecting the game to go down to decking, then it can be a lifesaver. Next we have a Bolt Hound. Very fun card. Nice lightning dog here. So this is a 3-mana 2/2 with haste, and when it attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+0. Very good in a sort of go wide strategy. The only drawback is that it doesn't pump itself, so it'll usually be a lightning rod for your opponent's creatures. But if you can do something to get around that, this can often provide, 3, 4, 5 power on attack.
Yeah, I think there've been a few like Perimeter Sergeant in the last set pumped your humans when it attacked, but having haste makes this a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. I think the core of aggressive decks in this format seems to be not so much ways to stop your opponent from blocking, as it has been in the past, in some formats in the past, but more being able to pump your creatures and give them more power so that it's harder for your opponent, more power and more toughness, so that's harder for your opponent to present good blocks. So this sort of supports and synergizes with that plan a lot. Next we have a Forgotten Sentinel. So this is sort of a funny card, I think. A 4-mana 4/3. I like the art. It sort of looks to me like it comes from a 90s computer game.
Yeah, definitely does.
In terms of sort of the composition and sort of the retro futuristic look.
4-mana 4/3 enters the battlefield tapped, so it can't block on the first turn, but it is reasonably efficient still as a colorless creature.
Yeah, I think if you need 4 drops to fill out your curve, you can do worse than a 4-mana 4/3, definitely. And there are a few incidental artifact creature destructions, mostly the
Rambunctious Mutt, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Rambunctious Mutt, which I mentioned in the last video. So it can be not so great in that situation, but in a lot of other situations, this can be a fine curve filler in some of your decks, usually more aggressive ones, I'd say.
Mind Rat we can probably skip over.
Yeah, so this, just a simple discard 2, good in some matchups, especially if there's mulligan, but a bit situational to be strong in a lot of scenarios. Daybreak Charger, really strong card, we talked about it before, gives another creature +2/+0, and just 5 power for 2 mana is really good, especially when some of that power comes when it comes into play.
Yeah, and how are you feeling about the... we'll talk about the end of the pack, but I think, yeah, it's good. It's a good start. Truffle Snout.
Truffle Snout, I think, is a fun card.
And it's strong.
Apart from the fact that it's a nice pig, which is always good. I like sort of the animal theme. I had an Animal Sanctuary deck on Magic Arena yesterday, which was really good. I think that, this is a really strong card.
It just looks so happy.
A 3-mana 3/3 with a +1/+1 counter, given all the +1/+1 counter synergies in the deck, is really good. I think just a really good base rate, as well as having the option to gain 4 life. That can be strong with a lot of the white and black cards that require life gain. I think there are a lot of good green 3-drops, but I think this is one of the stronger ones in a lot of matchups, and especially having a good green 3-drop synergizes well with the Hunter's Edge, which is the 4-mana deal damage to the Rabid Bite type card.
Mm-hmm.
So having a really strong 3-drop means that the curve of Truffle Snout into Hunter's Edge can be probably one of the stronger starts for any green deck.
Yeah.
Next is a Rookie Mistake. So this is a sort of 1-mana trick. It does a lot for 1 mana, even if it is a bit situational. But I think, Jesse, you said in the last video that this is a card that you like in a lot of situations.
Yeah, I mean, if you're straight up blocking one creature against one of theirs, it's good. It's likely that you're going to win that fight. If you have 2 creatures blocking 2 of theirs, or 2 of their creatures blocking 2 of yours, there's a chance that this will allow you to turn 2 draws into 2 wins.
For sure, definitely. So next one is Sanguine Indulgence. So this one is a successor in the line of sort of Death's Duet effects, which return 2 creatures. This one costs 4 mana most of the time, so it's mainly going to be good if you can be attacking with a lifelinker, trading it off, and then casting this to return the lifelinker. The fact that that's not going to happen as much, and probably not going to happen much when you're behind, makes me a bit more wary of this, but definitely can be good in some situations, even if you have to work a little harder for it than in some situations in the past. Next one is Garrick's Gorehorn.
We haven't had this one across the two pools yet. I like it.
No, so yeah, it's a 5-mana 7/3. I mean, there is a 4 powers matters theme, so this does support that, but the fact that it has 3 toughness makes me a bit wary. Of course, you can give it flight with the reed enchantment.
With the 4 cost, the Assault Griffin that gives something flying.
Yeah, so a number of ways, but I think without that, it's going to be hard to see it be good in a lot of situations. As I sort of talked about earlier, the fact that it can trade down with a 3-drop or even a 2-drop in some situations. Means that I'm probably not as happy to include this in my deck. But if you really need some bigger creatures and curve toppers, then you can probably do worse. Next one is Feat of Resistance, a really strong card and a reprint from Khans, which is probably my favorite format. So really happy to see it again. It is a 2-mana instant that puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control and gives a protection from the color of your choice. So a ton of value here in terms of giving counters for your counter synergies, in terms of making creatures stronger so they can win combat, and in terms of protecting against removal spells. So really happy to have this card in basically any of my white decks. Next one is Goblin Wizardry.
Hey.
So this is a fun card. I think one of my favorite things about it is that it's good in the Spells Matters decks, but it also allows you to have a critical mass of Spells Matters cards while not decreasing the number of prowess creatures you have. So the fact that it gives you prowess creatures and also triggers prowess means that even if the raid is not the best, it still does a lot of what you want in those kind of decks. And then next we have a Spined Megalodon. So this is a 7-mana 5/7 hexproof.
It's a shark and not a dinosaur, weirdly.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what a Megalodon is, but hopefully someone in chat will let us know. So this one is a 7-mana 5/7. So hexproof is strong if you're going to reanimate it, but the fact paying 5 mana, 5 mana to reanimate it is okay, but 7 mana to hardcast it means that it's going to be hard to generate a board where this can present a lot of value. In terms of reanimating, even though it isn't uncommon, I really like the Whelmer of Waves, or the 7 mana creature that gives your opponents -1, -0.
Yeah, I think that is much better.
Yeah, so I mean, this does have hexproof, which can be good, but it's not that often that games get into situations where you can just play this and attack 4 times. If you're playing this, you're going to be really worried about being attacked by flyers or being, raced, even raced on the ground. So probably not the best, although hexproof can be good in a lot of matchups. So that brings us to the end of the first pack.
All right, should we put the rares out so people can see those as we go along?
Oh, sure, definitely. So we have a Fabled Passage and a Temple of Epiphany so far.
And what did you think of pack 1 so far? What are you leaning towards? Anything? It's pretty hard to tell. We'll go to pack 2 and we'll chat at the end of that.
Yeah, maybe. Not the best so far. Just in terms of powerful signpost cards. So we'll open pack 2.
Yep.
In terms of pack 2, just looking to see where we're going so far. Not necessarily any direction sorted out just yet. So we start with another Saproling. Maybe it's a theme and a plains. And the Speaker of the Heavens.
Hey,
so
I like this one.
I haven't seen this one before. So it creates a 4/4. So it has Vigilance and Lifelink, 1 mana. Create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, and only any time you could cast a sorcery. So this is a sort of a big and a key life gain payoff card. If you can have this sort of in play even just for 1 turn, I could, because it doesn't sacrifice, I can see it being really hard to lose. But then 7 life more than your starting life total is a lot, and usually it doesn't even mean gaining 7 life. It means gaining 7 life plus the amount of damage they've dealt you. So I feel like in Sealed it's going to be tough to pull off.
Yeah.
In draft, you can probably, you know, if you can get some revitalizers or even just lifelink creatures, it might be a lot easier.
And have a lower curve. Like, ensure that you can have a lower curve without sacrificing quality too much. I think that's where this really shines.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, because of course it's an incredible ability. Another avenue is to sort of put some auras on it potentially, since it is a lifelink creature in itself. So that would sort of, auras or pump spells, so that would sort of fulfill multiple angles, because you would be gaining life while making it easier for the speaker to survive.
But 7 is quite a lot.
7 is definitely quite a lot. So next one is a Furious Rise. So this one is an interesting card. I've thought this card has been very hard to evaluate, basically in its previous formats as well as here. So this one is, if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, then you get to exile the top card, and you may play it until you exile another card, so essentially on your next turn. So this one, is quite interesting in that the payoff can be really huge. Being able to draw an extra card a turn, even just for a number of turns, can easily be the difference between winning and losing. But in terms of the difficulty in getting this to work, you're mostly relying on having another 4-power creature in play, which can be difficult, but in a dedicated deck could be definitely achievable. So I do think this is a strong card, but I think similar to sort of Garruk's Uprising and a lot of the other 4 powers matters cards, this is more one that requires the other cards at a critical mass to set up, rather than one that you can just put into your deck with a few 4-power creatures.
Tormod's Crypt.
So this one
nice
is
reprint to see.
Tormod's Crypt, more of a constructed card.
Yeah.
So it exiles all cards from target player's graveyard, but against basically only the most dedicated Reanimator deck would this be valuable. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to see a situation where paying 1 card to remove your opponent's graveyard can be strong, but definitely this card has been very playable in Constructed for a while, so yeah, it's good to see it back. Next card is Heartfire Immolator. Has prowess, and you can sacrifice it to deal damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. A really strong card because it's a 2-mana prowess creature, which lets you start the aggression early, and it doubles for a removal spell. It's very hard to get value out of killing this creature.
Because if they aim something at it, all you need to do is have 1 mana up, and you can threaten to kill one of theirs.
Exactly, and it's very hard to block it because just having prowess naturally makes it more difficult to trade with in combat. So it really punches above its weight for a 2-cost card, and a card that I'm really happy to have in basically all of my red decks.
We can probably run through these ones that we've already discussed on the other video.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. If you're looking for our opinions on Run Afoul, then please check out Jesse's previous video where we talked about this in more detail. So same with Silent Dart and Scorching Dragonfire and Forgotten Sentinel we looked at before. And that is just a.
But let's hold that a bit closer to the camera. That looks nice.
Okay, so
this
this
is a little showcase one.
Yeah, just the Garruk's Gorehorn, which is one that we saw before. But in this case, it's a bit, I wouldn't say shinier, but a bit more animated in terms of the frame and the expressiveness, I think.
Yeah. So I feel a bit better slamming that one down on the table
than
the vanilla one. This is one we haven't talked about.
This is a new one, a Makeshift Battalion, a reprint from one of the Ravnica sets. So this is a 3-mana 3/2. When it and at least 2 other creatures attack, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it really rewards you for the go wide theme, and it also gives you a +1/+1 counter. But the base rate of 3 mana for a 3/2, while it's not the best, it can be okay. I think, again, the problem is that there are just a lot of good 3-drops in this format.
I didn't love this in War of the Spark. I found it was quite hard to make it work, to make it trigger. And the fact that it trades down with most 2-drops makes me not love it. Like, I'd almost like it more if it was a 2/3.
Yeah, I think that would be better, right? Because then you could attack with it and not worry about trading, because you don't want to trade this card off before you can get too many counters on it. So, yeah, not the best, but, it can be good if you play, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop in the most aggressive decks even, or just 2-drop, 3-drop, removal spell, another 2-drop, that can generate a lot of value, definitely. Sure Strike. So this is a card that's been around a while. I think it's a bit better now. You know, the red decks tend to be aggressive and their spells matters, and, you know, an opponent who's trying to kill your Spellgorger, Weird, or other prowess creature in combat is going to have a really hard time trying to do so through this. It really necessitates having a removal spell, and there are not, as you said, there are not that many good removal spells in the format, so I think this is a card that has potential to gain a lot of value, even if, you know, it's not the easiest to play a ton of cards that are like this in your deck.
Yeah. Cool. So we're on to pack 3 now, I think.
Yeah, pack 3, yep.
Yeah. Oh, so let's take the rare out of that.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Leave it up the front there. What did we get?
So the rare was a Speaker
it's the Speaker of the Heavens. All right. So pack 3. So not the highest power so far. Like, not feeling like, oh wow, we're pulled in one particular direction, but definitely a bit of prowess stuff. There was the 2-drop red prowess card. We've got a Scorching Dragonfire.
Yeah, so red is looking strong, but definitely still a ton of directions we can go in. Not definitely tied to any one direction. So this one we have a nice soldier.
Yeah.
Then, so just looking at the art. Oh, it's quite pretty actually. I didn't notice before.
Yeah, it's got a bit of like patchwork on the inside of its shield or something. Stained glass or something.
Yeah, definitely. Very nice. Okay, so we start with a foil Havok Jester, which is an interesting card. When you sacrifice a permanent, Havok Jester deals 1 damage to any target, 5 mana, 5/5. So 5 mana, 5/5 is strong. I'd say the main thing is that sort of there aren't that many sacrifice payoffs in the set. Like there's the Hobble Fiend, which does let you sacrifice, but it's hard to sacrifice lands or sacrifice tokens. So the number of times that you can use this is probably limited. I'd say that the main advantage would be to try and ping your opponent to death with your Hobble Fiend between the trample and the extra damage to the target. But, you know, if you're sacrificing real cards other than tokens, then it seems like it's going to be hard to generate enough value to do that.
Yeah. Oh, Basri's Lieutenant. This one is really sweet, I think.
Yeah, so let's look at it closely. So it's 4 mana, has Vigilance, Protection from Multicolored, enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. So base rate, it's a 4 mana 4/5, which is already very strong with Vigilance. And when it or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance. So this is just very, very strong in the Counters Matters decks, and just an incredible card by itself. Getting to distribute that power over multiple creatures, so that even if one creature dies, you're not down too much. You either get a 3/4 on a knight and make them spend a removal spell if they kill the other creature, or you get a +1/+1 counter on your other creature, and you get to at least attack with it once. Usually, can be really strong. So yeah, this is probably the strongest card. I'd say definitely the strongest card that we've opened so far.
Yep.
And a really good pull into either white or splashing it in another deck.
Yeah. And white-red's starting to look pretty decent. Tavern Swindler.
Next one is Tavern Swindler. So with Tavern Swindler, I think this is a fun card.
Yeah. Do you like flipping coins, Jess?
I do love flipping coins. So this one, you know, has a bit more upside now because of the life gain synergies.
Yeah.
It's another card that can, while it can't gain you life really, for your Speaker of the Heavens, unless you're really lucky, it can give you a burst of life gain to trigger some of your life gain payoffs. I'm thinking especially the Ghoul that returns from the graveyard when you gain 3 or more life, as well as
the Patrician.
The
white-black.
As well as the Signpost uncommon that drains them for 3. So I think that gives this another angle that it didn't have when we last saw it, in terms of that life gain ability. So next we have a Fungal Rebirth. So this is a instant that returns a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If a creature died this turn, any player, create 2 1/1 green saplings. So this one, compared to all the other morbid cards, this one is an instant, which makes it a lot more interesting since it can trigger on your opponent's turn, which makes it much easier. So I'd be pretty happy to play this in most of my green decks that were creature-centric. I think especially if you had a couple bombs, being able to recur something as well as create 2 1/1 saplings.
One of the problems I found in a sealed deck that I played with this is that green does have a lot of 4 and 5 drops, so it can be a little awkward. If, for instance, they're trying to go underneath you and you're trying to get some things onto the board, this doesn't actually really contribute to the board in those circumstances, and it doesn't have any good targets early a lot of the time. So if you are one of those kind of more mid-rangey or slower big monsters green decks or green-red decks, this might not be amazing. But obviously being able to return any permanent means if you've got a Planeswalker or another bomb you want to get back, that's a great effect to have. And the fact that, if you're a more aggressive deck, a faster deck, being able to just get back one of your relevant creatures and make 2 tokens is pretty good in a format where there are quite a few token payoffs but not many token generators.
Exactly, that's the main thing I'm thinking, and especially with the other morbid cards, getting 2 green saplings, which can trigger morbid twice on 2 separate turns if you have some good ways to use them, seems like it can generate a ton of value. Although, you're probably right in that in a lot of scenarios, if you're turning the game into a race type situation, this won't be as effective. So it's more good if you're looking to trade off and be on the defensive. Basri's Solidarity. So this is a 2-mana sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Nice solid card for the white aggressive decks. Not too much to say here. I think it's a strong card that the more creatures you have in play, even though there are not a huge number of tokens, with the Steed, the 5-mana Steed that creates 2 creatures, in combination with Basri's Acolyte or some of the other cards that reward you for having multiple creatures, I think this can be really strong.
Or even just the fact that you can play the kind of 2-cost 3/1s and even the 1-cost 1/1 lifelinkers, of which there's a couple, and then they're good on curve, and then they get even better once you've played this, and you get to upgrade your whole board. That feels pretty nice.
Definitely. So, I mean, the downside, of course, is that it's not so good when you're behind, but if you're playing a base white deck, then a lot of the times you're trying to avoid that situation more than anything and use cards like this to press your board advantage.
Another one of the showcase cards. This is not a foil, is it? It just looks so shiny because of the fire at the bottom of the card.
Yeah, so this is a Chandra's Magmut. This is a fun card. It's a 2-mana 2/2, which is a good rate in your aggressive decks, and it can tap to deal damage later on in the game. I really like cards like this where they give you some base reach and they're not that bad to draw late. I think aggressive decks really need cards that can be strong even if it's not that effective to attack. So I really like this card, and I do like the fire background as well. So next one is Grasp of Darkness. Black to give a creature -4/-4. Really strong cards. In a base black deck, you can make it easy to cast, and it can trade up for a 3, 4, even 5-mana creature a lot of the time, which is really good in allowing you to play multiple spells, especially the 2-cost card in a deck with lots of morbid mechanics, like the Liliana's Devotee or the aforementioned Fungal Rebirth, can easily take advantage of this costing 2 mana by letting you play this with another morbid card and getting advantage immediately. So I think this card is really strong for a number of reasons.
Silent Art we've done. Walking Corpse, not much to say about that.
No, 2-mana 2/2. Not a ton of zombie payoffs. So there's the Liliana's Devotee, but apart from that, not a lot. And
also it is competing for 2-drop slots with quite a few other cards, including the 2-mana 2/1 flash that has a shade ability.
Yeah, and the Imp. So
the Imp.
Not the best
Not
in that
great.
respect. Primalkin, again, very cute. +1/+1 counters are great. Crypt Lurker, again, can have a lot of marginal abilities, has a couple of marginal abilities and some good stats, so not always gaining a ton of value out of it, but it can often do some good things. Then we have the Rambunctious Mutt. So I love the art. And I actually don't mind this card. I think
I quite like it.
Especially with Faith's Feathers and Capture Sphere and the Malefic Scythe, there are quite a few artifacts or enchantments that you can play this card with, and you know the body is not the worst, even if you can't hit something, and if you can, you know, being able to get a card out of it, and especially since those can be some of the strongest cards in your opponent's deck, and still having a 5 mana 3/4 can be strong, even if you don't want too many of these, since it is a 5-drop.
Yeah. I'd play one in most white decks, I think, most of the time.
For sure. So next one is Burn Bright. So this is another one for the Go Wide deck. I found this, you know, to be strong in red-white and in mono-red. It's not so good on the defensive. You can play it, but it's really much stronger when you can be attacking, and I don't think it takes too many creatures. Even just 2 creatures attacking can get good value out of this, and as soon as you can reliably have 3 or more, then it can be a really strong card. Of course, you don't want to have too many of these effects since it needs such a critical mass, but I think one or two in your red aggressive deck can be strong if you're building around it.
Yeah.
King Glidemaster, 2 mana 2/1, 3 mana to give something fly. I found this card quite strong. These decks really need 2-drops that can trade off. Of course, there's the Vidalian Arcanist as well, which can do this to some extent because it also blocks 2 mana creatures. But this is stronger in the sense that if you draw it later, you can send 2 creatures to the sky and, you know, easily attack. So I think this card is quite good in a lot of situations. It's never going to be the most efficient card on the board, but if you're looking to attack, I think you can do much worse.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of creatures that get better from being given flying in this format particularly. Like there's the 7/3 Garruk's Gore Beast or whatever it's called. And that, yeah, being able to send those to the air, basically anything from that green-red 4+ Power Matters deck, if you can turn that into a green-blue 4+ Power Matters deck with a bit of Skies action, then this is going to really help. Yeah.
For sure. So the rare from that one was the Basri's. So yeah, some good white cards. Grasp of Darkness especially. Grasp of Darkness especially a good card from this pack. So let's keep going.
Yep. So 3 more packs. Cool. Ah yes, because the first rare was the Fabled Passage, of course. So 2 good white rares so far, but the blue-red Temple, so not necessarily lending itself to that, but could be a couple of splashes there, and a few good red removal spells and things as well.
Yeah, so next one is a Bloodfell Caves, good mana fixer.
Oh!
Wait, what? So this is a Cultivate, which is
a
normally
rare Cultivate?
uncommon. But now we have a rare Cultivate. I've never seen this before. This is really neat.
Weird, but cool.
Yeah, so Cultivate itself, a strong card, good in a lot of slower base green decks since it ramps you from 3 to 4 immediately, while also guaranteeing that you'll play your 5th land on turn 4. So really strong from that respect, and additionally it's one of the only color fixes, especially in really multicolored decks, since it lets you fix two colors at once.
So is that actually the rare in the pack? Let's see.
I don't think so, right?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. It's just like a weird bonus rare.
Yeah, that's neat. So next one is Glorious Anthem. Glorious Anthem, strong card. Gives creatures +1/+1. So any sort of white aggressive deck will definitely go for this effect. Nothing too funny there.
Mm-hmm. But another good white rare.
Another good white rare, yeah. Now a Palladium Mirror. Palladium Mirror is a really good card as well. Being able to ramp you from 3 mana to 5 and 6 on turn 4 is really strong in a ton of decks. And that just getting 2 mana with 1 card allows you to play sort of a higher curve without worrying too much about drawing too many lands in the late game. So Palladium Mirror, really strong card in a ton of different decks. Then we have the Quirion Dryad, a card that was once a rare but now downshifted. So Quirion Dryad is a pseudo spells matter card. It goes well in the green-blue or the green-red spells matters decks.
But also triggers off creatures.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also triggers off creatures, but it does want you to play a lot of cheaper cards.
Yep.
Is the main thing. Cheaper cards and not green cards. So But yeah, I've been really impressed with this card. Playing it on turn 2, it can easily grow to a 3/3 or a 4/4 without much trouble.
Yeah.
And having a 4/4, say, attacking on turn 4 or turn 5 is really strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next is Tellurian Kraken. So it's a 6 mana 4/6. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. When you do, you may tap or untap target creature. I've been pretty impressed with this card. Seems like it doesn't do a ton because, drawing a card, tapping a creature in your draw step is not usually the best. Usually you want to tap a creature on your opponent's turn, but in combination with something like Reign of Revelation or Teferi's Prodigy, you can get a makeshift tapper, which can be really strong, and the ability to tap down multiple creatures on one turn to go for an alpha strike, I think can be really good. It just has a ton of potential in a lot of different situations.
Yep, I like it.
Next
I've talked about this. That's all right. It's pretty good.
Oh, Roaming Ghostlight. So this is a really strong card that we talked about before. Being able to bounce creatures is really good and can sometimes bounce your own creatures if that's effective. Next we have a Nulled Sage. So this is a bit of a strange card. It relies on you drawing multiple cards, an extra card on your turn, in which case it can attack as a 4/6 with Vigilance. Of course, you can draw 2 cards in your opponent's turn to surprise them, but I'd say the base effect is going to be drawing an extra card on your turn.
It's also got Reach, which is not...
Yeah, so definitely 5 mana 4/4 Reach is a decent rate, and Reach and Vigilance work really well together.
Yeah.
So if you can reliably get the second ability, it has a chance to be really good, and green and blue and even red in this set, to some extent, have the ability to do that. Sometimes black, so yeah, I think a good role player in a lot of situations.
Yep. Solid middle of the road card. Status and Training was good in the Theros Beyond Death because it gave you heroic triggers, and it's not quite as strong here, but still the fact that it gives trample and you get the card back if they're tapped out and you can be sure they're not going to 2-for-1 you.
Yeah,
it's not too bad.
Not a bad card. I'd say it would have lost a lot of the synergies that made it good in the past. So not as strong as it used to be, but can definitely be good in some situations, especially if you're aggressive. The trample can be really powerful, but it can be a bit awkward to draw it early if you don't have anything to put it on. Next one's another Crypt Lurker. Ton of Crypt Lurkers.
Yeah.
Crash Through. I've actually been pretty impressed with this card. Just 1 mana, draw a card in the Spells Matters, as well as in the late game gaining trample is a really powerful ability if you're racing. It can easily turn, being chump blocked and then losing on the swing back to just having enough power to get through. So I think this is a really good role player in a ton of situations.
I wonder how many people are going to get blown out by the fact that this is a sorcery rather than an instant and expect that they can do it mid-combat.
Trying to cast
it. But I mean, I think obviously it doesn't matter from the function of the card, but yeah, it's funny.
And then Frantic Inventory. Very interesting card. A sort of accumulated knowledge take 2. So, of course, you want to have really a ton of these before they become good, which means you sort of need to speculate on them a bit early in the draft. But it is a sort of fun sub-game or mini-game to sort of think about, you've seen a couple go round. Do I want to take one now and have the ability to get multiple? Since I think with 4 or 5, I think with 5 it becomes really strong. With 4 it's probably about average.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting card. Another Makeshift Battalion and another Short Strike. So from that pack, the Glorious Anthem was good. Some good white cards so far.
Cultivate for fixing.
Cultivate for fixing if we want to do a more multicolored deck. So a couple of options so far. I think a more aggressive white deck and a sort of more multicolored removal focused deck could both be good.
Yep.
Looking forward to seeing what we get from the next couple packs.
Definitely. There's a few avenues open, but that Glorious Anthem really does push a little bit more into the aggressive white build. It'd be nice to get a Bazri's Acolyte and maybe a couple more Lifelinkers, but I think you have 2 Anointed Choristers, so it's a good start.
Definitely. So this one has a Baron Tellurian Archmage. So when Baron enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. So really...
Another mana wall?
Yeah, another mana wall. Really strong tempo card. And the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. Okay, so if you rebuy something with this, you can draw a card, and then you can create a loop with multiple mana war effects that can give you cards every turn.
But you have to keep bouncing your stuff.
Yeah, which is okay, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you
have the Ghostlight,
yeah,
and you bounce this the next turn,
then you draw a card. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this card costs 3 mana and it already bounces something, so it's already sort of free upside. So yeah, I think a pretty powerful card. Then we have Unsubstantiate, another bounce spell. So this one is an instant, so return a spell or creature to its owner's hand. So it's an unsummon with some upside, since you can bounce spells as well, which I think is quite strong. You know, if they tap out for a finishing blow at an inopportune time, then you can get a lot of value with Unsubstantiate, or you can use it to bounce, you know, their pump spells, which can be powerful. I mean, if you don't want to just bounce the creature, you can bounce the pump spell and their creature might die in combat, and yeah, I think this has a ton of options. Ooh, then we have a Waker of
this
Waves.
is very nice.
I really like this card since it has two pretty good modes.
Yeah.
One is that as a 7 mana 7/7, creatures your opponents control get -1, -0, which is really strong. I think on basically any board stall or race, it's going to have a huge impact. And early, you can discard it to sort of get an opt effect. So it costs 1 more mana than opt and doesn't trigger your Spells Matters cards, but it does put this in your graveyard if you want to reanimate it later. And so yeah, cards that have 2 powerful modes are really strong, so I'd be looking to try and put this card in my deck if possible. Battle Rattle Shaman, strong card, gives you 4 power as a base rate and 2 power straight away. So cards that can give you power like this, I think, are really good.
Yeah.
Since they let you attack into a lot of situations. And I've had a lot of success with this, just continually pumping my other creatures, since it makes it really easy to trade without losing too much value, and at the end you still have this. So if you both just play creatures every turn and you end up with this, that's a really good trade. So if you want to be attacking, I think this is one of the better cards you can put in your deck. Next we have a Tart Ogre. Pretty simple card, 4 mana 4/3, but it does have reach, which I've found myself forgetting
it's
about
easy to
a
overlook.
few times. Yeah. And when it enters the battlefield, if you have another 4 power creature, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So yeah, I think a pretty good card. Does a lot of things. It's a 4 mana 4 power creature, and it protects you from flyers, which the sort of slower red-green decks often have trouble with.
Yep.
Oh,
Basri's Acolyte.
So
That's going to help.
Yeah, so this is sort of one of the cards you mentioned earlier. 4 mana 2/3 lifelink and 2 +1/+1 counters. So just everything you want. It's 4 power and 5 toughness worth of stats for 4 mana, and some of it can attack immediately. So yeah, this card just does everything you want in terms of adding power to your board in your base white deck.
And the lifelink is just so nice.
And the lifelink and the +1/+1 synergies.
Yeah. And a Chorister to go with it.
Yep. Return to Nature, another Naturalize, a good sideboard card. Fetid Imp, Cetizen Training, Defiant Strike, +1/+0 draw card. Again, not as strong as it would be in some other formats, but still good with Spells Matters. Destructive Tampering, destroys an artifact or makes creatures without flying can't block. So good in some situations. Definitely having their flyers still able to block can be a downside in some matchups, since usually if you're playing this, you want to make everything not block so that you can attack for the win.
I think it makes playing this pretty hard.
Yeah, I would agree. And the 2 modes don't really work together. No. I think it's hard to find a matchup where both would be good.
Yeah.
Vidalian Arcanist, really nice card. Just a good role player. 2 mana 1/3 is a good blocker. And then in more spells-oriented decks, it lets you tap for colorless. So really good with like Reign of Revelation, Read the Tides and stuff like that, where you're trying to make land drops and you just need some acceleration to get your card advantage, and then you can start deploying threats. So I really like this card. Good in a lot of situations. And then we have Secure the Scene. Exile non-land permanent. It becomes a 1/1, or they make a 1/1.
Yeah.
Not the best. 5 mana removal is okay, but sorcery speed and then making a 1/1 I think makes it much worse than Finishing Blow. But still an okay card if they really have something that you need to deal with.
And Exile is important, I think.
Yeah, Exile can definitely be strong.
Alright, last pack.
Last pack.
And then for those of you watching on stream, we're going to be heading onto Arena to jump into a draft and put some of this learning into action. So what have we got in this one? A Griffin.
Yeah, a nice looking Griffin. Blossoming Sands, another good mana fixer. Demonic Embrace. So enchanted creature gets +3/+1, has flying and is a demon in addition to its other types, and you can cast it from your graveyard paying 3 life and discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. Okay.
It's pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, a really strong card in any creature-based deck, especially if you're attacking. Giving +3 power and flying means that even your two power creatures become immediate game-ending threats, and
your 1/1 lifelinkers become very strong too,
as well
as 4/2 flyers.
Exactly, and being able to cast it from your graveyard makes it more like an equipment than a regular aura that we've seen before.
Yeah.
So it's sort of you just re-equip it by paying 3 mana, 3 life, and discarding a card. So yeah, this card seems really strong in any creature-based deck. Hellkite Punisher, 7 mana, 6/6.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, so if you need a finisher in your red deck, I wouldn't say a ton of red decks really need this sort of thing, but
No.
I suppose if you're much more defensive and trying to win in the air, then this can kill in 2 turns, which can be strong. Or
7 is a lot.
Or you can reanimate it.
Yeah.
Another Cultivate.
Regular Cultivate.
An Avon Gaggle Master.
I really like this card.
Yeah, so this card, 5 mana, 4/3, gains you at least 2 life when it comes into play just from itself. So, expensive card like this, really strong in terms of 4 power flyer, and then gains you a bit of life so that you can stabilize.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Wow,
another Chorister.
Another Ghostlight.
I think white blue skies is looking pretty good.
Yeah, a Gnarled Sage. Another
Acolyte. Wow.
Really good. A Blood Glutton. A Garruk's Gorehorn. A Secure the Scene. A Turn to Slag, something we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
5 mana to deal 5 damage to target creature and destroy all equipment attached to that creature. So very, very basic card. 5 mana for 5 damage with sorcery speed. You can't ask for too much more than that, and it'll kill most creatures except the very largest ones.
And very occasionally you get the 2-for-1.
Yeah, so definitely a strong card, and good in a lot of red decks, although you do have to worry about your curve. An Opt, good in the blue decks, especially Spells Matter ones, and Revitalize, good with some other life gain synergies. So
great.
Yeah, so definitely looking like blue-white is the way to go so far. We'll just sort of pick out all the white and blue cards. Did you want to do the same?
Yeah, might as well have a look at the deck. I think it looks really strong. I mean, there's at least 2 Bazri's Acolytes, I remember, the Gaggle Master, I think at least 3, maybe 4 Choristers, 2 Secure Scenes, which is really nice for once you do hit the top of your curve, being able to get rid of the giant monsters they've got. The Makeshift Battalion might not make the cut, but 2 Ghostlights, possibly 3.
Yep, definitely. So just give me a sec.
Yeah. Plus the Glorious Anthem and the other rares. Feat of Resistance too, forgot about that. It's a nice little trick. Yeah, cool. Oh, and the Falconer Adept. I think one thing that we didn't quite get so much in this pool was the 2-drops.
Yeah.
In white and blue. We got 1 or 2 of the Daybreak Charges, actually, so they're okay.
2 Daybreak Charges.
Oh, okay, that's probably enough then.
So yeah, definitely really strong.
Oh, and the Glide Master.
Yeah, so definitely a really strong possibility to do a blue-white deck. Maybe cut a few of the more expensive cards and just, with 2 Bazri's Acolytes, you can just play a ton of just creatures and make it work. So yeah, really, with a lot of creatures that generate value when they enter the battlefield as well, between the 2 Ghostlights, the Baron, and the Bazri's Acolyte.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunities for that. So yeah, really strong pool so far, and really interested with the rares. Maybe the Speaker of the Heavens could work. I mean, we do have 2 of the Basri's Acolytes and the Aven Gaggle Master, so it's a possibility. And potentially the Choristers.
Yep.
So, you know, but in general, yeah, if we just go for a sort of base white deck, especially with the Glorious Anthem as well, I think then we have the possibility to make a really strong, really consistent, aggressive deck.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for watching. We've been Jess Horig and Jesse Marshall for the Winning Agenda. We hope you've enjoyed our 2 pre-release pack sealed deck openings. We might just do, when we here in Australia, a lot of our stores have been doing a special for the pre-release, where if you buy a pre-release pack, they give you 2 additional prize packs, just as though you were sort of playing the pre-release, but at home, thanks to COVID. So Jess, do you want to maybe just crack these open and see what kind of rares you get in your 2 prize packs?
Sure.
So let's have a look. What are we hoping for? It'd be nice to hit a Teferi, an Ugin, a Grim Tutor. Those are pretty much the money cards going around here. So what do we get? All right.
For sure. So we have
Thieves Guild Enforcer.
The rare is at the front. So this one is a Thieves Guild Enforcer. So it has flash. It's a 1 mana 1/1. Whenever it or another rogue enters the battlefield, each opponent mills 2 cards. And then if they have 8 or more cards in their graveyard, it gets +2/+1 and has Death Touch. So an interesting card, definitely good in some, you know, if you have a lot of rogues. But then, you know, a 3/2 Death Touch is not that different from a 1/1. It can be in some situations, but still 2 toughness means it's going to trade it with a lot of things. So seems like would take a lot of payoff, but you know, if you can get all of the elements of the card to work together, then you have something that can be good with for only 1 mana. Although it seems like it would have quite a few deck building constraints to get to that point.
And doesn't seem like it's going to probably make it in Constructed. But that's all right. What about the next pack?
Yeah, sure. So let's do that. So
that was a decent price. Yep, we're all good. Come on, Teferi, Ugin, or Grim Tutor.
Okay.
Super tough packs.
We got it.
Alright.
Okay, so this one is a
Terror of the Peaks. This is actually quite good.
So spells your opponent's cast. So 5 mana 5/4 flyer, red, mythic. Spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks costs an additional 3 life to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So, okay, so it's a 5 mana 5/4 flyer, which is an okay base rate. Costs 3 more life to cast for them to kill it. So usually they'd be killing it with a black removal spell, or teaming up with, in combat with maybe a red removal spell. And then whenever you play another creature, you can deal damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So it's sort of like if you get to untap with it, so it'd probably be pretty tough to cast this and another creature in the same turn.
Yep.
In a sort of red aggressive deck, but if you get to untap with it, then all of your creatures generate extra value. They sort of can target other creatures as well, so sort of...
Or go to the dome.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So sort of like a Glory Bringer type thing. A bit slower, but a bit more... potentially a bit more powerful in terms of the total upside, in terms of being able to potentially kill multiple creatures or deal more damage to the face. So a very interesting card so far.
Yeah, definitely. And then we've got 2 more packs. You can open my prize packs.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There we go.
Is everything here?
Yeah, I'm just chucking it all down. So definitely enjoying this set so far. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Let's hope for a big hit here. Come on. Get me something good.
Okay, so this time we have a Niambi Esteemed Speaker. So Niambi has flash, 2 mana, blue and white. When Niambi enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to this creature's converted mana cost. So
Works well with Baron.
Yeah, it works well with Baron. It has flash, so it can protect one of your creatures, and then gain you some life, although you don't necessarily want to return something that costs too much. And then 3 mana, tap, discard a legendary card, draw 2 cards. So you got to trade your legendary card in for 2 more cards, so you get card advantage out of it. So interesting to see where this might fit. It has some strong abilities, but they don't seem necessarily to work together by themselves.
No, doesn't seem like too strong a card in Constructed, I don't think.
No, but I mean, definitely a lot of options there in terms of what you can do.
It's a white main line with a fair amount of upside.
Yeah. And I mean, discarding legendary cards can be powerful since you get to cash in your extra copies of them if they remain in play.
True. Could be a bit of a commander card of some kind.
So now we have a forest. This is a nice forest.
The showcase forest. Nice. And a heroic intervention.
So this is a reprint from Theros, I think.
Yeah.
And it gives permanents you control hexproof and indestructible. So traditionally good against like Supreme Verdict or Wrath of God effects. And yeah, just a solid sideboard card in a couple constructed formats, I'd say.
Not a bad one. All right, so no major hits, but in the prize packs, but getting the double Massacre Worm in my pre-release pool was nice, and I think you certainly got a decent sealed deck there as well. So we'll be back shortly for our stream viewers, and if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. We've been Jess and Jesse for The Winning Agenda. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.
Thanks so much if you're watching on YouTube, and hopefully you'll check out our stream. See you soon. Bye.